Hello everybody, Disciple here with Gaming Curios, and I am coming to you live from BlizzCon 2018. Well, technically I'm at the Hilton Hotel next to the Anaheim Convention Center, but I had to come here so I could record the audio, but you guys get it. I just tried out Ashe, and we've seen her, gotten to play around with her a little bit more, and I've also been watching the streams of EmonGG playing her, which you're seeing right now, and I wanted to thank Emon so much for allowing us to use his footage. I chatted with him yesterday, and he told us it'd be completely fine, because I won't be able to record my own footage until tomorrow at 3:30 on my live stream from the BlizzCon floor on facebook.com/gamingcurios. Now, I've made one video introducing the hero and talking a little bit about what she does and what she might be used for, but I also wanted to talk a little bit about overall how she can impact the game and what role she's going to have in the game, because on first glance, she seems really strong. Obviously going to be a pretty tricky character to use to full effectiveness, because you do need some pretty amazing aim and also some pretty good game sense when it comes to positioning with your shift or throwing out your dynamite. In the hands of a great player, Ashe seems to be almost a little overpowered because of the amount of sheer damage that she can output, as well as the awesome mobility. But of course, there are going to be ways to counter her, so I wanted to talk about that today, and also some of the cool strategies that you can do with her with other heroes. Now, of course, the best hero for Ashe to synergize with is going to be Ana, simply for the fact that their ults can work together. That's right, you can nano boost Bob. And that's going to be the coolest thing in all of Overwatch. I don't care at all about your strategies, I don't care at all about your team comps. If you can nano boost this giant Omnic who's charging into battle with a huge uppercut and then go into town with his turrets, I'm going to boost him every single time. I don't even play Ana, but I would play Ana if I had an Ashe on my team, because that's going to be awesome. Now, of course, you can also heal Bob, and it might actually be a great strategy to pour a little bit of resources into him, since in the middle of a fight, he can do some really great, intense, and sustained damage, since he's going to be in the middle of everything and have generally perfect aim, since of course he's controlled by AI, as opposed to your teammates who are controlled by, well, you know. Ashe also really wants to stand behind a shield, and it's going to be a great way for her to deal consistent damage without having to worry about these consistent high damage range attackers like Widowmaker or Hanzo, who can out damage her from a range with headshots that she's going to have trouble dealing with otherwise. Of course, she can use her coach gun to try and reposition, to try and get out of their line of sight, but she's really going to feel the most comfortable behind a Reinhardt or an Orisa shield, where she can really just use her full array of abilities and damage to take care of the enemy team without having to worry about getting picked off from afar. And if she gets dove on by a Winston or by a Doomfist, she always has her coach gun ready to help create some distance. If a Winston has to use his leap on her, she can always use her coach gun to knock him back and herself back, and then take him out with her shotgun with some well-placed headshots from medium range before Winston can even get back into range. And the same is true for Doomfist. You have to remember that these characters are using their movement abilities to even reach her in the first place. If she lets them just run up to her and then close the distance with leap once she disengages, then you've just positioned poorly as Ashe and you've allowed them to run right up to you, and you probably deserve to die in this situation. But really, Ashe will be great against characters who want to dive on her, because as long as you can use your coach gun effectively, you're going to be able to 1v1 duel most of these characters who are trying to take you out. Now, of course, there are characters that should be able to dive onto her and who should be able to disrupt her enough to shut her down. It seems like D.Va should be a great option against an Ashe, since of course D.Va has so much mobility. She can dive in onto the Ashe, she can deal damage from a range after Ashe uses her knockback, and she can use her defense matrix to help block Ashe's damage until she has to reload, or to shut down the dynamite from going off, which is of course a huge source of Ashe's damage. I'd also imagine that Wrecking Ball is pretty good at diving onto an Ashe, since he's got so much health, he's not going to get melted down nearly as fast as a lot of other characters are, and he has so much mobility that even after Ashe knocks him back, he can roll right back in and stay on her. I also like to think that Zarya, my favorite hero, is going to be pretty good against Ashe, since Zarya can shield to block the dynamite damage, or at least throw a shield onto her teammate or herself to stop the burn from taking them down. And Zarya should be able to duel her fairly well, since Zarya has a great mix of damage at pretty much any range unless you go too far. But with Zarya's left click and right click in combination with her energy and her shields, I feel like she should be able to out-duel an Ashe. However, an Ashe should never really be trying to duel an enemy tank in that situation. She should really be staying farther back at the range where Zarya won't necessarily be effective. If you're looking to counter Ashe as a support player, you might have a little bit of a hard time, but if you're a great Ana player, then you've always got your sleep dart available. Now Ashe has great mobility with her coach gun for a limited time. Once she uses it, she's got a pretty long cooldown, and that's going to be an excellent time for you to pop off your sleep dart, shut her down, since it should be very easy to kill her once she's stunned on the ground. And if you're a Moira player like me because you hate fun, then of course you should be able to duel her as long as you can use your shift to dodge the dynamite. The dynamite is going to be the biggest threat to any semi-low health character trying to take her out, and if you don't get hit by that, you should be able to out-duel her. But if you do, you're pretty likely to die unless you get some major healing, since it does so much damage to you. Now, as a DPS player, some of you are going to struggle a lot against a good Ashe. If you're a generally immobile character like Torbjorn or Bastion, that dynamite is going to absolutely tear through you. But if you've got some great consistent long range damage, or you can do some really high damaging headshots like Widowmaker or Hanzo, you should be in a great position to take her out from a range. If you're someone like a Doomfist or a Genji that relies on going on close into a fight and diving onto the back line, you might actually struggle a lot against a good Ashe, and you should try your best to deal as much damage from a range until you see her use her movement ability, at which point you should be able to dive in and duel her 1 versus 1. Genji's deflect should be really powerful against her, not only to shut down her left click, but also to try and maybe bounce her dynamite back at her or into her team, or at least keep it from damaging your own team. And if you're a character with relatively low in-fight mobility and relatively low range like Mei or Reaper, you're probably going to struggle a ton against Ashe. Ashe is going to outrange you by a lot, and with her shift, she should be able to get pretty good distance. So if you're a Mei going in for your freeze, you're going to get knocked back. And if you're a Reaper trying to get onto her, she's going to knock you back, and you're going to have to pop your shift to even try and get close enough to her again before she kills you from a medium range where you can't really do anything against her. I feel like Ashe is going to be kind of one of the kings of mid-range combat, where she's able to get you at exactly the distance that she wants you at and kill you pretty quickly from there. Ashe really does feel like she's going to be a very powerful damage dealing hero, but one of the issues that Ashe could run into is that all she really does is deal damage. And even though that is a role in Overwatch, there's so much that other damage dealing heroes can bring to the table that Ashe sort of lacks. If you play McCree, having your flashbang is immensely powerful to shut down an enemy Tracer or Genji, and if you're playing Ashe, all you can do is try and kill them faster than they kill your own teammates. You don't bring a lot of utility to the table, but if you're good enough with your left clicks and you can kill people, that's basically utility in and of itself. But you're not going to be able to fly over the enemies like Pharah, you're not going to be able to one-shot burst people like Doomfist, you're just going to be able to do pretty good damage. You also might struggle against tanks, since even though you can do pretty high damage with your rapid fire shotgun, you might not always be able to freely fire into them, and you probably won't deal as good a damage as someone like a Tracer with 100% headshots, or a Reaper up close and personal will be able to dish out. But if you can fight other medium health characters at a medium range, I think Ashe is going to be king in that situation. There are going to be some cases where you probably have to swap off of her, but I feel like Ashe is probably a pretty safe pick for a starting roster when you're going into the game, to pair her up with another DPS that can maybe handle either the higher health tanks or the longer range characters that Ashe might struggle up against. One of the things Ashe does really well is picking off individual targets, especially those who might already be low health. So if you have someone like a Pharah or a Junkrat who's doing massive damage to a team but may not get the finishing blows himself, you should be able to finish them off with a quick headshot or a couple shots from your left click, or even throw in your dynamite along with them to do some huge AoE damage in a cluster. I think that she'll work a lot better with those that do a little bit more indiscriminate damage, and she's the one that can kind of finish them off so that she's not completely relied on for taking down an entire enemy by herself, but instead just doing the damage where it's needed, since she can be so direct with where she positions and where she aims. But overall, Ashe is an incredibly fun hero, and I hope you guys all at least give her a shot. If you're not a DPS player yourselves, at least hopefully you can play someone that can enable her or shut her down, since a lot of people are going to be trying her on the PTR and when she gets released. And I know I'm going to be trying her a lot, even though I'm a pretty bad DPS player myself. I also wanted to give another shout out to EamonGG for letting us use his footage. He's an incredibly nice guy. I've met him a couple times at the Overwatch League Finals and again here at BlizzCon, and he gave me permission to use his stream, and I'm very, very grateful for that. And I'd also like to thank Blizzard for sending me out to BlizzCon, for putting me up in a hotel, and for giving me the chance to hang out, talk with people who love Blizzard games, and make content about Overwatch. Not only am I making these videos, but I'm going to be streaming tomorrow, Saturday, from 3:30 to 5:30. That stream will be live on Facebook and saved as a VOD on Facebook if you guys want to check it out after. And I'm so excited to get a chance to play Ashe for you guys live, to talk about what I think about her and how bad I am at her, and show you guys all the maybe cool things that she can do if I can figure her out in time for you guys. If not, I'll be spending a lot of time with her on the PTR on my stream, so make sure you follow that page, fb.gg/gamingcurios. It'll be linked in the description, and I'll see you guys next time. Enjoy BlizzCon!